Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're located. I am Cyril Lemaire, and I am with the marketing team of Quest Travel Adventures. And today I'm very excited to talk to you about the Canary Islands. And the Canary Islands are a great new location for your clients, a place of adventure. It's a safe place. And before we get to it, I'm going to ask that we take care of a few housekeeping issues. We ask that everyone put yourselves on mute, and we will also be having questions at the tail end of this discussion. This should take about 20 minutes. And again, today we have an update for you with regards to Spain, which is where the Canary Islands are located. Um, they are expected to reopen up. Spain is opening up on July 1st. And the Canary Islands are a group of islands located just southwest of Spain in the Atlantic Ocean. And they have a population of just over 2 million inhabitants and 2 million people that live in the Canaries. The two largest islands are the island of Tenerife and the islands of Gran Canaria. And today we will focus on the island of Tenerife, and we'll talk about a few of the other ones as well. Overall, the islands get about 14 million passengers a year, and only a small portion of that from North America, from the US and Canada. But the reason it's such a popular destination, and the reason why it's such a popular place for Europeans and other people throughout the world, is because it's a place where you can do pretty much anything you would like to do. I describe it as a combination of three of my favorite places and destinations. Imagine the beaches and the resorts and black sand and volcanic landscapes of Maui, combined with the Spanish colonial flair, port-like feel, and gastronomy of Barcelona or Lisbon, for that matter, in Portugal, uh, combined with the marine reserves, white sand and black sand beaches of Costa Rica, and tropical climate of Costa Rica. And that's what you have on the island of Tenerife. So far, the islands have had very few cases of COVID-19. They've had just over 2,370 cases on all seven islands. And that is really a very small percentage when you compare it to the rest of Spain, for that matter, and other regions of Spain or other regions of the world, such as the United States. Um, the the islands consists of seven different islands that are located about 30 miles west of the coast of Morocco. And the biggest and most populated island and the largest of the seven islands is the island of Tenerife, which you can see in the middle with the dot, and that we'll focus on today. There is also just to the southwest, an easy day trip, about an hour away. You have the island of La Gomera. And then to the east, you have the second largest of the Canary Islands, which is the island of Gran Canaria. Those are the two most populated and most frequently visited islands. And the island of Tenerife is called the Island of Eternal Spring. And the reason it's called the Island of Eternal Spring, because it's the perfect temperature all year round, roughly between 74 and 79 degrees Fahrenheit. And what you see here is the crown jewel of the island, which is the National Park of Mount Teide. And this is a phenomenon that you'll see occasionally at the end of February or early February, end of January, early February, if they get a cold spell. And that's when you'll see the volcano that sits at 12,000 feet high. It'll have a little bit of snow at the top, and you can be down on the coast, on the beach, sunbathing in 80-degree weather. This is the view of the Orotava Valley. This is the view of the national park, the Gran Canaria National Park. And the island is really separated into two sections. There is the north, which is a hustling, bustling metropolis of Santa Cruz that has world-class sophisticated infrastructure, including rail infrastructure, as well as one of the top hospitals, medical institutions, and university hospitals in Spain. This is the south, and this is one of my favorite views. It is overlooking the island of La Gomera at the sunset. And you have some of the finest 4- and 5-star resorts on the island, including more 4- and 5-star resorts than you have in Madrid and Barcelona combined. Of course, you've got the white sand beaches on the south that are available all year round. This is the Atlantic, so it's important to keep in mind that the water is typically in the 70 degrees, low 70s, and it's not the same as Caribbean water. But there are some spectacular beaches, including this one, Playa del Duque, which is one of the top 5-star resorts on the island. Now, the number one attraction on the island is Mount Teide National Park. And Mount Teide National Park is a volcano. It's still an active volcano that sits in the middle of the island with an elevation of just over 12,000 feet. And what you're looking at here is something that happens pretty much every evening at sunset, which is the shadow of the volcano setting over the clouds, and they call it the Sea of Clouds. It happens pretty much every afternoon and is quite a spectacular sensation. Now, the reason it's one of the top national parks in Spain and in the world, as classified by the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, is that it has more than 800 species of unique fauna and flora, as you see here. And these are types of flowers that are about 6 feet tall and grow in red, blue, white, spectacular colors that you can see for most of the year, and all the lava flows that you can see behind there. And you can also, because it is such a high elevation point and there's no light pollution or land pollution, you have one of the top stargazing locations in the world behind Chile. This is one of the activities. This is a picture, it's not a Photoshop. This is actually what the skies look like at night in Mount Teide. And one of the activities that we do is called sunset and stargazing. And it is an absolute delight to see these constellations at night. Now, it is also a fantastic family destination. The island has the #1 water park rated in the world by TripAdvisor. It's called CM Park. The owner, that is in the south, also owns another park in the north called Loro Park, which has also been rated as the #1 zoo in Europe by TripAdvisor. And he also owns a top spa resort right next to his zoo called Hotel Botanico that we will talk about in a little bit. That is one of the top resorts as rated by Condé Nast last year for spa resorts in Europe. Now, there's lots of great outdoor activities. There is whale watching, and the dolphins, because of the deep waters, come here year round, and you can see pilot whales 5-10 minutes off ashore, so you don't have to go too far offshore to see it, and they're right there. There is also all the types of adventure activities that you could dream of. It's known as the Island of Adventure as well. There is paragliding, there is kite surfing, there is rappelling, there is the world's second largest lava tube that you can go into and explore. And there's obviously some of the best biking and cycling for those of you who are looking to train. One of the top activities and highlights of the island, located in the southern part of the island, are the gigantic rock cliff formations called Los Gigantes, or also known as the Giants. And the Giants come out of the water. They're about 1,000 feet high, and you can go through them and explore them by paddle boat, by power boat, or by kayak and canoe. There are also plenty of really interesting natural reserves. There is the forest of Taganana on the north that you see here that has gigantic ferns and rhododendrons. And this is a real live picture again of, you can see these ferns. They're the size of this photographer here that's taken a picture of the ocean. And the tree above her is no ordinary tree. It is a rhododendron tree. There are 9 courses on the island that are of all different calibers, including a world-renowned course at the Ritz-Carlton Abama course. And what's really interesting here is that most of the golf courses have both white and black sand, volcanic sand bunkers, which are very tough to find. And also, as you can see here on the left, the island and the courses are over there include old banana plantation terraced walls from 400 or 500 years ago, when the Aborigines of the island originally settled here from Portugal many years ago, before the Spanish. One of the other World Heritage Sites, that is the town of La Laguna. La Laguna is a old Spanish colonial town that used to be the main center for trading goods and supplies for the explorers back in the 15 and 16 and 1700s, because it was one of the first points from the New World to reach Western Europe, as well as the last point from Europe for those trying to find South and North America. In La Laguna, every year there is the world's second largest carnival behind Rio de Janeiro, and this is the beautiful Carnival Queen from a few years ago, who has this ornate headpiece. It's a 7-day event that is usually held the third week in February, depending on the Christian calendar for Lent. There are also local festivities during the summer from June through end of September, called La Romerias, and these are where the locals get dressed up in traditional Canarian clothes, sing traditional Canarian songs, and also have competitions of sand art and these massive murals. And each of the towns every Saturday compete and do these festivities. So the summertime is really a great time to go and check out these festivities. And of course, if you're a foodie like me, well, look no further than the Canary Islands. There are some fantastic flavors that combine the Spanish tapas style, as you can see here, as well as the southern influences from South America. So a lot of Peruvian flavors and spices. Some of the highlights for the Canarian, obviously, there's always the fresh fish in the restaurants, but as you can see here in the background, the island is also very well known for their honey because of the unique flowers and fauna on the island. As I mentioned, there are plenty of seaside restaurants. It's a very inexpensive island. It's not, it's very laid back and casual. There are restaurants in the north and in the south, as well as within the resorts. And this is one of the examples of the traditional Canarian braised pork dishes that has some really nice flavors with Mediterranean flavors and thyme and South American flavors as well. One little known fact about Tenerife is that it is also home to some of the most world-renowned wines and grapes throughout the world. In fact, back in the late 1800s, during the phylloxera epidemic, most of the grape varietals in Europe got wiped out because of the insects that ate all the vines. But some of these wine varieties never got harmed in the Canary Islands. So we have grape white wine grapes and red wine made from the Listan Bianco for the white, as well as the Listan Negro for the red. And there are 7 named varieties and dominaciones, as they call them, on the island that win awards throughout the world every year. I like to describe the white as a little bit of similar to a blend between a Pinot Grigio and a Chardonnay grape. It's crisp, it's dry, it's refreshing without being overpowering. And the red is a little bit like a Syrah grape. It is tanniny, it's earthy, and has a lot of body. And this is the view from one of the wineries, the Bodegas Monje, which is one of the top wineries that we like to bring our travelers to, not only because it has this beautiful landscape and panorama, but also because they have some great wines and some great food. Now let's talk a little bit about the accommodations. There are 2 ways to stay. You can stay in the north for a few days. We typically recommend 3 days in the north and 4 days in the south because they are very different. The north is much more lush, green, and tropical, whereas the southern part of the island is much more dry and arid. Hotel Botanico is one of the leading hotels throughout the island. It's a 5-star property where, again, the owner also owns Laurel Park and CM Park. And it has a botanical garden. It's a wonderful place to have weddings. And it has more treatment massage rooms than any other place on the island, and really a wonderful Thai-based architecture as you walk throughout the property. One of my other favorites is the La Laguna Grand Hotel, and this is in the center of the old town of La Laguna, the UNESCO World Heritage Site that we talked about. It has an inner courtyard, as you can see here, lots of character, very authentic Spanish colonial flair to it, and very well centrally located to local restaurants, the town square, as well as the university. Now in the south, we really like a few of the properties that many Americans will come and recognize the brands. There is the Sheraton La Caleta, as you can see here. This overlooks the island of La Gomera to the right. It has 5 different dining restaurants. It has multiple pools. It has tennis courts. And you can stay here either on a half board or full board basis, but these are not all-inclusives the way you would think about an all-inclusive in the Caribbean or in Mexico. One of our other favorite properties is a 5-star Ritz-Carlton Abama Resort. As you can see here, you're looking at the island of La Gomera in the background. This has the most challenging golf course on the island. There are villas, there are private villas. There are also 5 restaurants in that property, including a 2-star Michelin restaurant that is outstanding. You do need a reservation for that, but there are multiple Michelin star restaurants on the island, and this is one of the best ones. There is also an Iberostar property. This is a relatively new property that was renovated a little over a year ago. It is an adults only property, and also very solid value in terms of the price point. Now there's plenty of activities. We can help you craft different activities for your clients. There's obviously the beaches and the visits of the towns of Santa Cruz and La Laguna. There's snorkeling, there is scuba diving, there is sea kayaking. There are also different types of routes that we can bring you through on the Gran Canaria National Park. So there's half-day rides, there's full-day tours, there's cheap tours, a lot of different options. The tie-day stargazing at night is really one of my favorite, but there's also whale watching and dolphin watching, which is a great option. We do offer a 2-island tour package, and after you've seen Tenerife for 4 or 5 days, it's really intriguing and a great day trip to go to the neighboring island of La Gomera. It's about an hour ride ferry from the main port over to La Gomera. And we typically do a full day Jeep tour on La Gomera. And a couple of the things that are highlights is you have in the middle of the island this formation that is a volcanic flume that is that's really unique, and it's basically the last remnants of the inside of lava tube that eroded everywhere around it. You have another, on the upper right-hand side, another rhododendrons and giant fern forest that is the second one in the Canary Islands. And there's also the town of San Sebastian, which is where there's also one of Christopher Columbus's house that you can see and visit as well. So a lot of history related back to the United States. And if your clients are interested in a 3-island tour, we recommend the island of Lanzarote. It's about an hour flight from the north of the island. There's 2 airports on the island, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the island of Lanzarote has more of a rolling terrain as opposed to having a huge. There is a volcano there, but it's a little bit more gradual with rolling terrain and drier. And there is the Timanfaya National Park that is very popular. It's the top attraction on the island, and there's 2 routes that you can take. It's called the volcano route. There's the north route and the south route. There are also some really interesting meals that you can have. The locals harness the natural energy of the volcano to cook and to make some really interesting traditional Canarian meals, and that's the island of Lanzarote. For the itineraries, we include at Quest Travel Adventures typically 4- and 5-star hotels and resorts that include breakfast daily, the transfers, local guides that all speak expert English, and we do also pay a 12% commission on all of our packages that we sell. And in terms of how to get there, it's pretty simple. There are 2 airports on the island. There is the airport on the north, TFN, which is a 3-digit code, Tenerife North, TFN, and TFS is the 3-digit code for the southern airport, which is the international airport. The easiest way to connect there and to go there is to go through either Madrid, either to go have your clients fly to either Madrid, and it's about a 3.5-hour flight directly from Madrid to Tenerife North. There are multiple flights there per day, and as well as any other major city in Spain, including Barcelona and Sevilla. There are also many connections that you can take from more than 180 different airports around the globe. For Americans, there's going to be easy connections and availability from the UK, from Heathrow Airport, as well as Amsterdam, Paris, Frankfurt, any of the major European hubs, since it is one of the top destinations for the Europeans. That's what we have with regard for today. I am going to take some questions and see if anyone has any questions. Let me see the chat. We're just going to wait a few seconds. What side of the road do you drive on? So the side of the road, because it is part of Spain, you drive on the right side of the road, and it's really easy to get around. All the road signage is usually in Spanish and in English because it gets so many travelers from the UK.
that all the road signage is really easy to understand. There is a highway that goes around the perimeter of the island, and you can go from the north to the south in a little over an hour. So it's really easy to get around, and then there's obviously roads that cut through the interior that you can drive on. As I said, you can rent a car. That's usually an easy thing that you can do, or we can organize, private escorts as well, private cars. Can you reach Los Gigantes via vehicle or only by boat? Excellent question. Los Gigantes can be accessed by boat. This is Los Gigantes. You can actually also access it by car, but you have to go to a village called Masca, and we didn't talk about Masca. Masca is think of it as a little bit like of a Machu Picchu feel. It's this old village, small village, nestled at the top of the cliffs, that you can then walk down from Masca to the edge of the cliffs and actually make your way all the way down to the cliffs and have a boat pick you up as a water taxi to bring you back into the port. That's obviously, we recommend that your clients are in shape, have good walking shoes, because it is, even though it is downhill, the terrain is somewhat challenging, and you really recommend that people are comfortable with solid footwear. What's the total population of the island? So again, we talked a little bit. The island has a little bit over 1 million inhabitants. It has about 750,000 of the inhabitants in the capital city of Santa Cruz and La Laguna, and then the rest of them the inhabitants are spread throughout the rest of the island. Gran Canaria has just under 900,000, and then the other islands are really limited in terms of population. La Gomera is really just a day trip population, or if your clients want to just go to a secluded place for a few days. But the bulk is in Tenerife and Gran Canaria. I don't see any other questions coming in. Actually, here's a couple others that are coming in. How expensive is it, and what's the currency? One of the benefits is that the island is part of Spain, so it is on the euro. That's trading at about $1.12 right now, $1.13 per US dollar. One of the benefits is that the island has a lower tax rate than everybody else in Europe. It's only got the rest of Europe is at a 19% tax, and the Tenerife has a 7% sales tax. And I think, is it good for families? Yes. Again, there are so many activities for families. I personally have 3 teenage daughters that we took 3 years ago, and then again last year because they loved it so much. They did the water park, they did the lava tube, they did the hiking, they did the stargazing. Really, there's so many activities for people of all generations and all interests to keep everyone really have a great vacation. So we really highly recommend it for anyone looking to travel during the February vacations, during the spring break, as well as during the summer vacations. But my favorite time of year is usually right in the September, October, November timeframe. That's really, the weather is fantastic. The crowds have gone, and it's a little bit more quaint. See if there's anything coming in. I think that's it. We thank you very much again for participating today. We encourage you to contact us at info@Quest Travel Adventures if you have any questions, and one of our team members or our general manager, Erica Gustafson, will be in contact with you. Again, we do pay travel agent commissions of 12%, and we are here to support you and come out stronger for 2020 and 21. Thank you.